Gaza Strip. The killing is continuing in the West Bank. And also, we must mention what's happening against Syria and Lebanon. And let me just tell you something, over 200 attacks on Syria by the Israeli army, by the Israeli Air Force, and no condemnation at all. No condemnation. We saw the horrific scenes yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, of Israeli soldiers throwing Palestinian dead bodies from the top of roofs in the village of Qabatia. Why would you do that? Why would you do that after a person is killed? Why would you throw the body from the top of a roof? This is a criminal army which has no limits now of criminality. We saw the footage, and we saw it on Sky News, which is like a Zionist or pro-Zionist one, but they couldn't deny what they saw. They said initially we're not sure, then they investigated, and it was sure. You see soldiers throwing dead bodies from the top of... by the way, they do it in other places, but it's not caught on camera. This time it was caught on camera. We have soldiers who are bragging about killing Palestinian children. We have soldiers who are bragging about killing Palestinian women. We have soldiers who are bragging about destroying Palestinian property. And all this under the eyes and the ears of the world, and nothing is happening. And let me tell you something. Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, not since 7th of October, since long before that, he went to the border with Jordan and he said something to add to the racist, supremacist statements that they say people in power, that's not an ordinary people, a prime minister, and he says, we're gonna build this wall to separate us from the human monsters. He did refer to the Jordanians and the Palestinians on the other side as human monsters. Before him, as defense minister, I'd like to remind you because people forget, Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, he said, we are fighting human animals. They're bringing back religious quotes which we are trying to get away from. We don't want this conflict to be, we don't want to carry out our struggle on religious basis. We have none whatsoever against the Jews because of their religion or background or whatever. But we have everything to object and to condemn and to campaign against the criminal Zionist crimes against the Palestinians, which started late in the late 30s and the 20th century, continued until it reached the ethnic cleansing of 1948, and now, ever since 1948, the killing of Palestinians on weekly basis, on daily basis, the destruction of every aspect of Palestinian culture. So we are really happy that you are with us. We cannot afford but to stand with the Palestinians, because despite all this killing, they are teaching us lessons. We are getting videos of Palestinian youth entertaining Palestinian children in shelter schools and in the tented camps, and all of them are full of life and full of optimism. And one of the paintings that a child wrote, it says, Gaza remains the most beautiful place. Can you imagine that? A young boy in a camp, a child in a camp with no electricity, with no supplies, but what gives them from charity, he says, my homeland is the most beautiful. This is the weapon, this is the spirit of the people which we must support all the time. And we must emphasize all the time that we are supporting them to stand against war crimes, against genocide. Because let me remind you, genocide is not to wipe out a nation in one go. It's a gradual thing, and it's happening in Palestine. It has happened in Palestine. The genocide of the Holocaust took 4 or 5 years, and the Israelis are carrying out killing of the Palestinians with absolute support from the West. Not even a word. They just say, we don't like what you're doing, we disagree with it. Do something about it. Do something about it. Keir Starmer, or Biden, or Kamala Harris, or all these leaders, they are colluding in these crimes. They are colluding in these crimes. I just want to share something with you. When Khan Yunis was hit 10 days ago in Al-Mawasi, a tented camp, it was hit by F-16 bombs, which dug a hole in the ground. You may not have seen it, you might not. Massive hole. 40 people were killed, tens were buried under the sand. And guess what? Listen to this. A British Crusader Squadron surveillance plane took off from a Cyprus airbase to give the Israelis the intelligence to bomb that area. How shameful is that? How shameful is that? And then they say we are working to stop. No, if you're working to stop, you stop helping the Israelis. The Crusaders Squadron, what an ugly name. Why bring the Crusaders name to this when we are moving away from religious? We don't want religious wars at all. We want to live in justice and peace with everybody, but we want justice. Thank you very much.
Two meetings, two events, and ask you to join us in both of those events. Moshiach has just been speaking, and he's been speaking about what's happening in Gaza. And on Thursday, the 26th of September, that's next Thursday, in the Broomhall Centre, you've got a chance to see an incredible documentary that Moshiach made. It's called Shanshula, and it's about the fishermen and women of Gaza. What I think is incredible about this film is that it was started before October the 7th, when the fisher people of Gaza were living well, and they were living well under a brutal siege that had already lasted for 17 years. The people are living beautifully without an awareness of what's waiting around the corner. Moshiach made that film, and because he was there when the onslaught against Gaza began, he then went and found some of the fisher people to see what had happened to them after they had been bombed out. And there is extra footage at the end. It is an absolutely stunning documentary. I can't recommend it highly enough. So please turn up. The Broomhall Centre, I think it's 6:30 on Thursday the 26th. And then 2 days later we have an assembly, a general open assembly for everyone who's interested in the work that we're doing for Palestine. We're working so hard, we very seldom get a chance to talk to each other, to review what we're doing, to think about it, and to make suggestions and put forward proposals. And that's what this day is about. So it starts at 10 o'clock. You do need to book. It's on the broadcast channel and in the newsletter. But if you look around now, I'm looking around, and I can see so many familiar faces, and I haven't had a chance to speak to a lot of you. And that day will give us an opportunity to deepen our personal relationships, deepen our political commitment, and open up really good channels of communication. Because you know that when you're in a crowd like this, when you're surrounded by people flying the Palestinian flag, you're in really good company. We're all friends here. So I urge you all to enroll for that and come along. It'll be well worth it. There's a vegetarian lunch provided, a workshop in the morning and workshops in the afternoon, and it should be a really good event, so please join us. Oh yeah, the date for the assembly is Saturday the 28th of September, so it's a week tomorrow. A week tomorrow, yeah. It's a week tomorrow, and it's in the broadcast channel, it's also in the newsletter, so it'll be great.
Thank you very much, Annie. We have...
I'm the co-chair of Stand Up to Racism, and I want to announce this demonstration that's taking place on the 26th of October Tommy Robinson is coming to London. He's coming to London, he says, to take back Britain. He is the enemy of all of us. He hates trade unionists, he hates the Palestinians, he hates anybody who stands up against him. He is really a fascist, and he wants to take control of this country. Last time he spoke in central London, 1 week later we had race riots taking place across this country. The worst riots we've ever seen since 1919. More like pogroms. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to do that to all black, Asian people, Palestinians, trade unions, LGBT plus people, anybody he has in his sights. He wants to divide and rule, and he wants to take power. And we have to stop him. I think this is an urgent task. So free Palestine. Occupation is a crime, but let's also stop Robinson as well.
Appeal to you all not to listen to views which are being now raised out of frustration and out of feeling that of hopelessness. And they say, what's the point? We hear a lot of views that, what's the point of doing what we're doing? Nothing is changing, the killing is continuing. These are negative and damaging views, which I really understand why people say it, because of the situation and the ugliness of the attacks which are continuing. But we cannot agree with these views. And I just want to give you my feelings. When we receive photos of children who are being entertained in the camps, in the tented camps, and I hope on the 26th of September, if you come along, some of you will see the PowerPoint display. If we see orphans who lost their families 2 or 3 days ago are playing and smiling and cheering, to me, that's a good enough reason to continue campaigning. We don't have to win in the short term, but we will win in the long term. An ugly state like the criminal state of Israel will no doubt fall down because of its crimes. All big empires who invaded and killed other people in other nations, all of them ended in history. And Israel is no difference. But the smiles on the faces of these orphans and other children who are not orphans, who were displaced from their homes, the fact that we're giving them a smile, we're giving them something to be pleasant about in the middle of this tragedy, is a good enough reason for us to campaign. On top of what we say, that our presence is extremely important on the political level, to expose the war crimes, to expose the nature of the state of Israel, to expose those crimes which have started long before 7th of October. Annie mentioned the film. The film will tell you about the suffering of the fishermen and women before 7th of October. Not only fishermen and women, the farmers, all aspects of the Palestinian, our medical staff, our teachers, our university professors, our United Nations workers, over 220 killed now, and no word from the United Nations. Our paramedics, over 700 are killed now, and no word from the British Medical Association. This collusion, this silence is a crime. This silence is racist. This silence is supremacist, because human life should be the same wherever they are, whoever they are. We believe in people anywhere in the world. We believe in justice for everybody. How can these institutions be silent when hospitals, schools, universities, fishermen, farmers, all workers are being killed, when infrastructure is being destroyed? I keep saying they went into Tulkarem, the Nur Shams camp, to attack, to get, to confront 7 Palestinian resistance fighters. They dug the entire infrastructure on their way. They destroyed electricity power supplies, water supplies. Why? Collective punishment, crimes of ugly nature. And that's why we are here. We are here to expose these crimes, and we are here to stand with the Palestinians whom Israel want to drive away from their homes. And as I repeat what I said, if we manage to help the Palestinians stand, manage to let the Palestinian children enjoy at least a little bit of time among the bombs and killing, that's a good enough cause for us to campaign. Thank you very much.
So this one's called Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. Something inside of me aches to escape. I sit down to write. My pen sits on its brakes. For what more is there for us to say? Will it sink in if we speak it one more way? Children, babies, genocide, bleeding, abducted, massacred, crushed, rubble, screaming, displaced, then displaced, then displaced, then displaced, then displaced, then displaced, sent to a safe zone and then bombed in this place. Amputations with no anesthesia, white phosphorus burns and no analgesia. A new acronym was born in Gaza out of the nightmares of all mothers and fathers. Wounded child, no surviving family. Where is the love? Where is the sanctity? We will keep fighting until our death. What is there to lose? There is nothing left. The colonizers stole it all and they'll grab your last breath. They'll stop you living long before you die. They'll suppress your scream. They'll stop your cries. They'll gaslight you with lie after lie and ensure you're only ever just getting by, then distract you with endless things to buy. Because if we are stopped to pull on a thread, this whole messed up system would come to a head. The ivory towers would crash to the dirt, enabling humanity's divine rebirth, where we will center children, life and earth. Free Palestine!